Live on the mics. Here we go.
Oh,
Here we go.
quick question.
We're live on the mics.
That's what, yeah. So the title is Magnifying. Is it part of the...
Yes. Destructive communication patterns.
Should that be part of the title? I meant
Sure.
to ask that.
I don't know if we did before.
So it's
We
called
did.
Destructive patterns.
Destructive Patterns Magnifying.
That's the name of the episode.
Yes.
Okay.
Right?
Destructive patterns magnifying. Hi, Marilyn and Bob. Big guy.
Big guy. All right. We ready? Here we go.
What?
Hey,
He's got to count you down, bro.
First time, bro.
Come on. Come on.
Too much counting for you there,
I
math
know
guy?
you're excited, Ben. Here we go. 5, 4, 3.
Welcome, everyone, and pull up a seat at the table. It's Lunchtime in Rome. Tonight's episode, 244, is entitled Destructive Patterns Magnifying. Are you someone that always has the worst thing happen to you? Are you in a relationship with someone who tends to make things much worse, in your, and maybe everyone's opinion, than they really are? We're talking about what to do about that tonight at the table. Pull up a seat at the table and join us. First-time listeners can subscribe on your favorite podcast app or watch us live or later at youtube.com/@lunchtimeinrome. Visit us at www.lunchtimeinrome.com. While there, you can take our relational needs questionnaire. Make sure to follow us on all social media, and it would be great if you could give us a 5-star review. Jay, what specifically is this podcast about?
Being alone is the worst. Good times aren't as good, and bad times are worse when you're all alone. Romans 12:15 says to rejoice with those who rejoice, mourn with those who mourn. That is how you keep people from being alone and what this podcast is all about. We demonstrate that in the first 15 minutes of the podcast. We talk about it for the rest. So while it may not be 12:15 in Rome, we're treating it like it is
Lunchtime in Rome.
Rome.
Yeah. So this past weekend, Mother's Day.
Yeah, but what about Brian?
Brian is in New York.
Yes.
And we have Ben sitting in for Brian.
Hello.
Wow.
Ben's got the hot mic.
Yeah, I might need to turn Ben down a little bit.
Maybe I'll back up a little bit.
Yeah, that's fine.
You back that up.
But yeah, Mother's Day this year.
Back that up.
Yeah. Obviously, tough season in my house with Amy losing her mom back in December.
Yep.
But we had a lovely Mother's Day with my mom. Amy wanted to keep it low key, so she didn't really participate in all the activities. But had a lovely Mother's Day over at my parents' house, and then Sunday
You celebrated Friday.
celebrated with my mom on Friday. Yeah.
Yes.
And then Sunday, Amy said, "I just want to go to Kennywood and keep it simple."
Gorgeous day.
Well, that was the thing. It didn't rain. It never rained, but it looked like it was going to.
It was supposed to, and then
No, it was not supposed to.
It was not supposed
cloudy
to.
sunny.
Okay.
Right. It
Or
ended up
leading up, maybe on Saturday morning, it was still supposed to. Whatever. It ended up being a great day for Eric.
It ended up being a nice day. Still a tough day. Navigating
Crowded, by the way.
No, it
forget
was-
the emotions.
We got on pretty much everything. Like the longest wait was the turtle.
Always is.
Wow.
Always is. It never fails.
That's great, though.
But here's the reason. There was like 5 times where there's these fast pass people getting, on.
Here they come.
On the
here they
turtle.
come. On the turtle, man. You picking the turtle for your fast pass? Come on.
Just can't wait.
It's not that long of a wait. Like
Freshly painted, though.
it is freshly painted.
Oh, that's nice.
The line is like this long, like that. The place to stand in line. It's not long. It's not big at all for the turtle.
It's not that long.
Yeah.
It's not worthy of a fast pass.
But still a difficult day.
Still a tough day, but we had a good time. Maggie is in a new era of Kennywood. Amy went with her a couple weeks ago, and they got on the racers, so she's getting into coasters. I suggested that we get on the Cosmic Chaos, which, if you're not familiar with Kennywood, the Cosmic Chaos is in the shape of like a UFO, alien UFO. It goes back and forth. There's 2 ramps on each side that you go up on either side, back and forth, and it also spins around. If you've never been on it, it is one of my favorite rides. It's awesome. And
Not a fast spin, more of a rotate.
right, more of a rotate. But when you're moving back and forth and up,
You're disorienting,
It
nonetheless.
feels pretty intense.
You have to take that Dramamine.
Yeah,
I would.
I
know.
definitely took mine, and I was still feeling it. But I think since it was Mother's Day and the lines were a little shorter, they were letting rides go a little longer than they normally would.
That's nice.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
However, we start out going, Maggie is just giggling. Like, she's just having the best time. And at one point, we're like full into it, all the way up and all the way back. And if it would have stopped maybe 4 up and downs, she would have been, earlier, it would have been great. But like at one point, she just kind of lost it. And it was, but she rallied quickly, and then we got, they got on the pirate ship. I set that one out after the Cosmic Chaos.
Wait, tell me about lost it. What do you mean?
Crying.
Just like crying and like a little bit scared, and
Okay. Like right in the middle of the ride.
like not even like
No,
it was towards the end.
yeah.
Like she was, she was okay. She like seriously, she was laughing and giggling and having a good old time. But no, it was fun. She's
Now, is she scarred from that ride? Is she like, Daddy, I'm never doing that ride again? Or sort of like,
she might not want to get on it for a while, but I think she'll get back
sure.
on it at some point.
I wonder if like, in the middle of it or 2/3 through it, her brain is like, what am I doing right now? I'm flying 40 feet in the air.
Well, and it's a big ride.
Yeah, it is. It's bigger than you think. Like,
it is.
You
Like,
get on it.
You
and
get
you're
up
like,
there.
Whoa, this
yeah.
is tree height.
And especially when the rotation syncs up with,
up and spin.
up and spin and coming back down. Like it's, realizing how high you are.
Making me a little upset to my stomach talking about it.
Yeah. But then we ran into one of her friends from Joyful Twirlers, and that was great because then she had a little buddy, and we grouped up with them a little bit. And peer pressure is a powerful thing. And she
Started doing drugs.
she got on the wave swinger, which she's always been kind of apprehensive of getting on.
That's
and
a great ride.
She loved it, and I knew she would love it. She just had to get on it. But that was so much fun, and it's just fun watching your kid just giggle and laugh and experience those things for the first time. That's a lot of fun. So yeah, it's that's kind of my update.
I have a Mother's Day update as well. And not with my, I live, where my mom lives.
Sure. Titusville.
Titusville. So I did not see my mom, but
Can't
we've
get
had
there
some
from
nice communication lately, and my brother and sister and I went in on some gifts, and so it was that part of it was nice. However, the Mother's Day itself, most of it is made up of like Amy is queen for the day, and and again, weather turned out to be amazing. She had 2 things she wanted to do. One, there's a like brunch place down on the strip called Cafe Raymond. You ever been there?
I have not.
No? Okay. I know you've frequented, various places.
Ooh, maybe I'll. Go ahead.
It was good. And then from there, she likes quests. So her quest for the day was
Holy girl.
and used bookstores. Searching for a couple things, and so she just was like, I want to just go to all these used bookstores around the Pittsburgh area.
People are different, aren't they?
It's not my idea of
Right,
yeah.
but it's it's.
But I respect it.
Yes, ma'am. It's your day, and so we head down to the strip and hit Cafe Raymond, and already it's busy. It's Mother's Day down there, but we actually lucked out on a decent parking spot, and we're like walking down the street, and we're toward Cafe Raymond, and we're passing all these spots, and Amy's like, "Ooh, I kind of want to stop in there. Oh, here's another. Oh, I want to stop in here." And then we pass this place that has, there's, for those of you who don't know, in the strip, there's a lot of shops that like just pour out onto the sidewalk. Like they have like sidewalk sales and things happening like all the time. And so she found a couple places, and she's like, "Oh, look at that dress. I want to come back here and try that on." Long story short, after Cafe Raymond, she changed her quest for the day. Her quest was
Variable quest.
mostly explore the strip.
Yeah.
And so we had a great time. And it was the 4 of us. Lily and Ben were with us, and which doesn't always happen anymore, but it's nice. Ben's back from school, and everybody was off, obviously, because it was Sunday. And we just had a really great time doing that. I stopped in just a ton of places. And then after that, we did end up driving to one used bookstore in Squirrel Hill. And I think there was like a a non-used bookstore that was down the street from that, and she found nothing at the bookstores that she wanted. However, she did walk away with lots of other things from the strip. So that was fantastic. My other quick update is I have to share something. I brought this with you. This is my early birthday present.
Zippo.
Check that out.
Oh, yeah.
I got a Zippo lighter that is etched with the Davidson clan crest, and then on the back it's the Davidson coat of arms.
Oh,
Oh, there's a code of honor.
cool. Still got it.
Yeah, very nice.
that's
And
exciting.
Eric,
Yeah.
it's a butane,
I see that.
so that it's
pipe friendly.
like it's a pipe. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's angled for a pipe. I smoke a pipe occasionally, and but it's less like
That's a great, unique gift.
right.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
And special.
Customized. Mm-hmm. I like it.
So
Is
my
it an
birthday.
official Zippo?
yeah.
I've always
Yeah,
wanted
they-
to like tour their factory.
They came out, I don't know how long ago. This insert is like their newest one, the butane pipe lighter thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So
Well, that's awesome. You know what else is awesome? Ligaments that don't hurt.
Yeah.
oh, that'd be nice.
So for Mother's Day, we had a nice family dinner, and then we all went down to Highland Park and we walked around the reservoir. And then we did all the exercise stations around the outside of it. They have like, a sit-up station, or you can do dips like on parallel bars.
I've been
and,
down there and I've never seen those.
and the beauty of it is we drove from station to station. But that's on a bigger loop.
Yeah.
And then we got to the one, which is the monkey bars, which are now known as overhead ladders,
Sure.
which we call
Monkey bars.
monkey bars. And they had another station there, and so Bella's on that, and Rachel's doing this, and there's pull-ups and all this stuff. And Bella didn't go across the monkey bars. Joe did, Rachel did even. She's like, not bad for whatever. And so of course I do. And then I was like, what I've never tried is going 2 hands on the first bar and then going to the next bar with two hands.
Okay.
But then I thought, wouldn't it be better to skip a bar and go 2 hands?
I mean, why
Could
not
I
just
swing and fling myself enough forward?
just jump to that?
Which I
Yeah.
was able to do. And I felt a little tinge in my elbow. So I thought, well, then I should probably do it again. And when I did, and I landed it. So now I'm 5 away, and I have the searing pain in my elbow, and I'm like, oh my gosh,
That's
this
your
is
throwing
not
elbow,
good.
too.
I'm well aware of that because I went home and I iced it up, and Rachel's like, do you have to go to the hospital? And I'm like, no, because it doesn't hurt excruciatingly. It's just this horrible ache and everything else. And when I rotate my arms, you can see the one side's inflamed, the other one's not. So after working on the disc golf course, I think I did it on Sunday afternoon, but definitely yesterday a lot. I trimmed everything. And then today I used my pole saw and cut some, growing limbs down. I got home and I was like, Joe, let's go play real quick. So we jet over to the disc golf course. It's tee off at 7:00, and it takes an hour to play. And, we have the podcast, but I'm like, let's do it. Doesn't it just start to rain on hole number 3? And then my
man,
first,
that's early,
and I'm,
yeah.
I've been stretching it out, the arm and everything else. And so the first hole's real short. I threw and I went, oh, well, no, that really hurts. And so every throw, I'm like, ah, and it just kept like hurting. And what's funny is the forearm didn't hurt,
Yeah.
but originally it would have. Like when I tried
It's
motioning.
It's a different.
Yeah, and so it's like complete extension is when it hurts. But then it rained so hard we stopped after 9. And oh gosh, Joe is in disc golf. He is incredibly talented and will throw some of the dumbest throws you can possibly imagine, including he had a 10-foot putt for birdie on number 5, which is one of the new holes, threw it right down the opening. But he's above the basket, so he putted it off the top of the basket, so it went 25 feet downhill. And then he putted up and hit the cage, and it rolled back down 25 feet. Just instead of a 2, now he's got a 4, which was actually a 25-foot putt for that.
Oh,
But
wow.
it was a good time, but not nearly as good of a time as hosting a podcast with Ben.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello, Ben.
What's your
Thanks for
update,
having me
Ben?
on.
You got some big updates, Ben, since you've been on.
I suppose so.
Puberty.
Yes. No, I have a bachelor's degree. That's probably the biggest one.
graduate.
Yes.
Yeah, I finished my undergraduate career at Pitt this April, and now I have a degree in mathematics, which is very exciting. And now I'm going right back to school.
Also exciting.
No, but I'm getting my master's in education. So
Look at you.
it's a 3-semester program. So get it over and done with. Get into the workforce. That's the plan.
It's good to have a fellow Bachelor of Science graduate here at the table.
Yep.
Yeah.
Aren't you arts?
No, because my bachelor's is in education, it was the school of. Well, maybe it was arts and sciences. I don't know, but it's a bachelor of science. It's a BS in education. That's what I got.
There you go. And you're in grad school like your father was.
I was in grad school. I never finished grad school. but
Okay.
Ben's gonna. Yeah, in 1 year's time, he will have more formal education than I do.
Well,
Formal.
Formal.
True,
You can't
true.
beat this experience.
no, yeah.
That's true. That's
true.
true.
No, but things are good. You feel good. Does it feel like you graduated from college, or the fact that you're going right back in, you're kind of like,
I still feel like a little kid.
oh, buddy, that doesn't go away.
Yeah.
It does not go away.
It does not go away.
Yeah.
I'm faking it till I make it, buddy.
I believe that. But especially like coming home from school and like being on the job search and like procrastinating everything. And it's like I want to go play Mario Kart. It's like
Same.
some things never
What,
change.
what are you doing later tonight, Ben?
I will be continuing the search a little bit, actually, if I go to sleep.
I thought you guys were playing games later. Is that not you? Joe said the boys were playing video games online.
Oh, that would be awesome.
You should probably check your phone. It's
I
a
should probably
Davidson trait.
I should probably get right
father
up in the
like
group
son.
chat. Yeah. Actually, there's about 25 notifications. That's probably nothing important. Let's save it till later.
That's the Davidson code of honor.
Yeah, is there a cell phone on that crest that you got?
If it is, burn it.
Why would there be?
We kid because we care. And we are grateful that Mary Lynn and Ashley and Breaking 90, that they all care. And they care enough to sit at the head of the table by going to lunchtimeinrome.com and becoming a paid subscriber. We encourage everybody to be a subscriber. But if you want to sit at the head of the table, you just click on the paid portion and you make a monthly contribution, which enables us to keep this podcast going and be listener and not ad supported. We're just not even listener, table sitter. That's a terrible term. And we're just very grateful for that. And for all of you who sit at the table, and it's always great to get feedback from everybody. But I also love when I hear from people and I'll tell them something about my life and they go, well, yeah, I heard it on the podcast. And I'm like,
You listen.
yeah, people listen. And it's random sometimes.
I know.
People
It's
listen.
pretty cool.
So we are excited about that. We're also excited about this series that we've been going over on destructive communication patterns, for lack of a better term. Little things that people fall into, whether it be polarizing, whether it be generalizing, whether it be all the different ones we've talked about so far, that you don't know you're doing, you don't choose to do them. Your lifetime, your upbringing, your hurts have shaped you into this destructive pattern, which is not great for you personally. And it's pretty difficult no matter which one of these it is. It's tough to be in a relationship with somebody like this. And so what we'll do is go over it, and you'll know it right away if it's somebody else that you're in a relationship with. But you also might, and we've had this happen with some feedback, as the podcast goes on, you might be going, oh, that's me. Eric, could you just give a little more background on some people that have said that?
No.
That's confidential.
I'm sorry.
Well, not the who, but just how somebody had reached out to you and said, oh my gosh, I'm halfway through the podcast.
Oh, yeah. Now I know what you're talking about. Yeah, there was somebody, a friend of mine that reached out and was listening to, I forget what episode it was, but
one of the destructive patterns.
One of the destructive pattern episodes, and he or she was just really kind of struck that it just hit him because he realized that it was the personalization
Okay.
episode. I'm looking it up right now.
Right.
And all they could think about was, I hate myself. And he was just like so convicted by it. And I was just I love hearing that people are listening, and I don't love where he's at, but I love that like he could listen and get a realization of who he is and then what he can do. Because in all those episodes that we do, we talk about like how to get out of that, what to do, and all that. So that was really cool.
Well, and the realization is like, well, it's obviously the first step, but it's such a huge, like, until you realize that that's you,
Right.
that you're doing some of these things.
And that goes for, we've talked about that before, where it's like all emotional needs. Like once you realize what your emotional needs are, it's a game changer.
Right.
Because then you can better ask questions, better ask for help.
And for those of you who
yeah.
haven't listened to the past few in the series, personalization is like where you're turning everything onto yourself. Like everything becomes your fault, basically, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
This week, we're talking about magnifying. We didn't introduce that yet, did we? While I was being a pastor there for a second?
We did not.
We did not.
Great. Magnifying is, simply put, making mountains out of molehills. Now, did you think of anybody? You don't have to say who.
Right. Yes.
Yes.
I think everybody can
Yeah.
think of somebody that makes a mountain out of a molehill. And I feel like oftentimes that happens when things are under a lot of pressure, And I'll be transparent. Like right now, Amy and I are going through a lot. Things at work are crazy for me. Things are crazy for Amy. One for with her mom passing, but also helping her dad with things. So sometimes, and Amy normally isn't like this, but sometimes the smallest thing can be the biggest thing.
I want to say this dissects this idea for me though, and maybe that's not what this is, because, or maybe it's just one, like I said, like it's cutting it in half, because there's the person whose cup is overflowing, and
The emotional cup.
yes,
Right.
the emotional cup is overflowing, and they just can't handle anything else,
Right.
and so every small thing that happens, every molehill feels like a mountain, and so
Right.
they treat it that way.
Yeah.
However, isn't there also the person, and I'm wondering if that's more what this is talking
Right.
about,
This is
where
who they
it's
are.
just a habit.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter if their cup's full, half full, or empty. It's
Right.
just this is how they respond to things. Does that make any sense?
No, it makes perfect sense.
Okay.
And I think that can be true. But we'll unwrap this a little bit, see if that comes out. But bookmark that, because as I'm creating the outline, I'm like, I don't know that does come out. So, description: they exaggerate events until everything seems like a catastrophe. So that's sort of the building of it. Like, well, this is the worst. This is the worst. This is the worst. And it's like, no, that's
It's not really that bad.
it's not really that bad. And by the way, as we go through this, these are people, and this isn't in the notes, these are people that you find yourself not comforting well.
Oh yeah, you just want to say, "Suck it up, man."
Well, especially like maybe at first, like the first worst thing.
Yeah.
You're like, oh man, that's
Yeah.
I know. Wait,
Yeah.
wait, but now this is the worst. It's
Yeah.
really not as bad as the other worst, or it's And
Yeah.
after a while,
That's
it's
very
like
true.
okay.
It can be very defeating.
They may be volatile with anger, unmerciful with self-condemnation. So they don't give themselves any mercy. And overwhelmed with fear or self-pity.
Wow. I keep feeling like, yes.
Meaning of who you know?
Of who
or-
I know, yes. Yes.
Because I was
Not
gonna
of-
say, I
not
was
of
like,
myself,
Ben,
yeah.
I've never seen you make a mountain out of a molehill. I was
No,
like,
sorry, yeah.
I was like,
Although, with all due respect, and
Yeah.
let's expose the young man while he's here, I'll bet you do inwardly.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Like, I don't think.
absolutely.
No, I don't
Yeah.
think this is like, because I hear this, I'm like, this is at least a little bit myself. But yeah, there's like, someone who I know where it's like, yep,
All the time.
all the time. Everything's the worst. Everything has to be the worst. So it's just.
Now, I would also like to look at this from a generational standpoint. My grandfather, when he would speak about the Depression, my one grandfather, and I've mentioned this before, would say, wasn't so bad. They made it out to be worse than it was. You worked a week, you were off a week. If anything was a big deal, it would be the Depression.
Yeah.
But yet, with the Gen Z and Gen Alpha, we've spent so much time making sure they're okay. that now any ripple
Yeah.
is the worst thing ever. Like there's not enough grit. Like look at how popular cold baths are. And one of the greatest things is they tell you it gets you in touch with ordinary misery. And I'm always like, I'm good with ordinary misery.
Ordinary misery.
I am well in touch. That we've gotten so soft, we have to create shocking environments
Yeah.
for that. So
You're talking about like a polar plunge kind of thing? Yeah.
cold bath, ice bath, you know. May be viewed as self-absorbed, preoccupied with one's own crisis, whiny and overly reactive, and unable to consider or meet others' needs.
Yeah, like you're never gonna
Wow.
go to this person. Yeah.
Ben, can we just put this out that this is not your girlfriend, family member, or any of your closest friends, which you call the boys?
No, absolutely not.
I'm just putting that out there because I don't want anybody who knows you to be like, oh,
Yeah.
talking about me.
Yeah.
'Cause I know they'll
Yeah,
sit at
'cause
the
you-
table with us.
You're never gonna go to this person to try to meet you emotionally.
no, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does the maybe again I'm dissecting in my brain, but the manipulator, like the person who does the magnifying I call it a manipulator, but if a person is doing this magnifying as a way to gain attention, you know those people who like they crave attention. That's probably their one of their highest emotional needs. They're not really getting it, and so they go into this habit of like every ache and pain is like more pronounced, or they put on. Maybe that's just my perception. Maybe they're not manipulating. Maybe they're just magnifying, and my perception is, you're just trying too hard. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. I don't know if this person is seeking attention though. I could be wrong, but
Oh, I would say they very well could be. Because think of
I said it could be.
when your emotional need is not met. We've talked about this. And you don't properly communicate it, you begin to steal
Right.
Right.
that need.
And we've talked about how attention seekers are like some of the most difficult because that's like that's the black sheep of the
Emotional needs
Yeah.
family. So if one day the person who has, they have this high need for attention and they go, oh, nothing really bad happened today, but last time something really bad happened, I got a lot of attention. So then they will magnify it to get that attention.
Yeah.
But as we know, when you steal an emotional need, it does not satiate.
See, I was thinking more like support or encouragement or comfort.
and it could be any of those.
It could be. I guess
Right?
it could be any
Like,
of them.
yeah.
But the attention was not the first thing that come to mind.
Right. But if you go back to the emotional cup,
Yeah.
and we talk about how your hurts go one of four places: self-condemnation, guilt, fear, or anger. Well, if you have this intense fear that your hurts are going to continue or your needs aren't going to be met, you're going to magnify them so that people know, oh, I have this need. So what any of them, you're going to magnify so that you get it. So if you have a high need for support and you don't have support,
Right.
nobody helps you do anything, you're going to be like, oh, this is the biggest project I've ever had in my life. And you're like,
You just have to put your name on the paper, dude.
do it, right? Like whatever it is.
Well, Jay, are you talking consciously or subconsciously?
Sub.
Sub. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think that's where I was going with the manipulation thing. That's a conscious thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I guess you could subconsciously be manipulating. Maybe we all are.
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
totally think
Yeah.
so.
No, I mean, and you can be conscious of a subconscious manipulation,
Okay. Conscious of a habit that keeps
but
happening.
when you are subconsciously doing it, you're not conscious of it.
Right. Later, you're like, oh,
Ooh, I was doing it again.
yeah.
Let's look at why people are this way. What's in their background? Well, very often they're raised in an environment in which little things were blown out of proportion. So imagine you spill milk as a kid and mom flips out and models that behavior for you.
Yes.
That this is the worst. This milk's never going to come out of the carpet and all the day is ruined. Well, sure. You're gonna feel like a piece of crap
Yeah.
your whole life. Or if dad is always angry and any mistake you make gets blown out of proportion, yeah, you've learned these are bigger. And now, think of the comfort we give this. So this person was raised in an environment where dad flipped out all the time, mom cried all the time. Maybe it's both parents. And you go, it's not that big of a deal. Well, they've got 12 formative years. Oh, no, it's a big deal. It's always a big deal. It wasn't a big deal for you growing up. Secondly, simple mistakes lead to a character attack. So I spilled my milk. You don't care about me. You weren't paying attention to the milk and you just spilled it anywhere. You're an ungrateful little boy. And so you made a mistake. You're a bad person.
And you're talking from the perspective of
A child.
Okay. Oh, you're talking about like this is how it's formed still.
And by the way, if say it's a married couple and every time the husband does something wrong, the wife says, you know, again, this is more background, but if you've been married for 20 years and every time you do something wrong, the wife goes, you don't love me. You're a terrible husband. You don't care and everything else. Eventually, you know, it's going to, well, depends on the husband. Some husbands would be like, screw you. But others would be like, oh, I'm the worst. I can't make her happy. You know, don't agree too quickly, Ben. Discipline very often is excessive and out of proportion to the offense, which makes sense. Which, now see, that contradicts my earlier point because the older generation, if you ever talk to like your grandparents, if you still have them, or your parents, and say to them, hey, what was it like when you got punished as a kid? Like, oh gosh. Reminisce group. I am so excited. We have never talked about punishment. Reminisce group, we meet with people.
You're going to get them worked up.
An assisted living facility, and we just talk about the way it used to be because even though they have memory loss, they can remember that. And we've learned so much, but I don't think we've talked about this. But I mean, I've listened to podcasts, you know, kneeling on popcorn, popcorn kernels.
Oh my gosh.
man.
As a punishment.
Yes.
I mean, my mom ate soap.
Oh yeah, that was a big thing. We learned that in Christmas Story.
My thought on that, though, is that, like, even though there was more corporal punishment, it was... I mean, obviously, no, some parents are still, like, flying off the handle, lashing out. But I feel like there was a lot of, like, well, this is what you get. You earned it. And
You
it's
learned
not like,
right and wrong.
right. And it's like, but it's like, I mean, the way it was approached wasn't like, you're the worst kid ever. Get down on those popcorn kernels. It was more like...
Right, but even if... so
measured, I guess.
So you forgot to take out the trash and your parent told you to go get a switch, which they did in the old days, which is a twig, Ben, and they would whip you with it. That's telling you that's a bigger deal than it really should have been.
Right. Yep.
But I think, but there's also different places where excessive, it's not 100%, you know, because you can also go to detachment and you can also go to anger and all those things. So, and there's very possibly a parent was preoccupied with a need for belonging or security or acceptance manifested by fear of rejection, loneliness, which contributed to their seeing catastrophes in every situation.
Their emotional needs and cup overflowing took precedence over the parenting in the moment.
Yeah. Just to clarify, I didn't have to kneel on popcorn. Somebody has once told me that they had to kneel on popcorn.
Right.
I was largely ignored as a child. Could have used a good punishment here and there. So, I mean, again, here, the next one is indicators of magnifying. It's so funny. This is probably like the easiest one to identify so far.
Yeah.
We're all like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, out of all of the ones that we've reviewed, this is the one that that it makes the most sense.
Caveat and or side note, I do feel bad for the people, and I only know of a couple, where it's like, no, this is their life. Like, everything is terrible. Like, and every good, like I said, every blessing comes with an anchor is a phrase I used about somebody today. Like, yay. Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Well, at least you got, oh, no, that happened.
What's good is bad.
What's good is bad for some people. But the indicators are frequent use of extreme words and phrases such as never, always, devastated, worst, ruined, terrible, horrible, awful, beyond repair, too late, all, nothing. Yep, that's it.
Yep.
Now the truth. So we have to speak truth into these people's lives and pray to God they eventually begin to understand this and heal from this lifetime in a lot of ways. Lifetime of hurt and pattern of behavior. Those are two things that are hard to break.
Yeah.
I met with somebody recently and they said, I know I have to regulate my emotions more. And here's how good I am at my job. I went, okay. And they were like so serious about it. And they looked at me and went, I mean, yeah, that'd be nice. I said, it'd be like a serial killer being like, I really should stop killing people. I said, you're not, there's these things that push these behaviors. And in this, and pretty much every destructive pattern, you have a lifetime of hurts which have built up and manifest themselves into a pattern of behaviors. Well, guess what you get really good at doing? That which you do all the time. Mm-hmm. So the truth of the matter is, molehills are in fact not mountains.
What?
Now some would say, to an ant, I'll bet it is.
We're not ants.
Not everything is a major event. I love this. This was in the training notes. A 50-cent event needs a 50-cent reaction.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. What about 25 cents?
25 cents.
Okay. Dollar.
Maybe $1.
Oh, it'd been great if you'd go, actually, do. And Ben's over here. Well, it's actually delayed exponential.
Maybe you could use like a gold coin, like the dollar coin, instead of a bill.
People sometimes treat us badly, but not always. And we do some things wrong, but not everything. And I think that's important too. Let's look into that. So I'm the worst. Oh, it's terrible. I screw everything up. What if you say to them, hey, look, what you did today, you did screw up. But you don't screw everything up. Is it important to build that?
Like acknowledge the screw up.
Right. But or is it dangerous because you're confirming their beliefs?
Yeah, because I feel like that sounds like a great idea, but what if they take that that negative affirmation and run with it, and they just focus on that now? So they're like, oh, I did.
What if they magnify it?
Exactly. They're like, I did this wrong today. This is a huge deal. That it's confirmed. I've done this wrong, and they run with it.
I think it was in your Learn to Love, but like you don't minimize the sin, but you don't judge.
Sounds like me.
Right.
Yeah, you don't
But
say,
you know
like,
what I
oh, it's
mean?
not a big deal. Oh, it's a big deal, but you're still a good person.
Right.
And there was
Yeah.
no
Right.
intention behind that. Like, did you make a mistake? Sure you did. Do you always make mistakes? No, you don't.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and you're not responsible for their magnification.
Right.
That's important to know.
But if they're magnifying, like by definition, it's not as big a mistake as they think it is, right?
Sure.
Okay. So you're acknowledging
But I'm saying,
it.
okay, but my point is, what if it is a big mistake?
Right. You have to somehow break their cycle of thinking
Right.
that. Yeah. Well, now everything's a big mistake.
So hey, last week when you forgot to cut the grass and then it rained, not a huge deal.
Right.
When you crashed the car today because you were texting and driving, now that is a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
perspective.
Yep. And it's interesting. This is in my notes. It's usually too soon to give up.
Usually.
Those aren't my words.
Yeah, but like I feel like it's so easy to give up on.
Well, right, but I'm focusing more on I would almost say it's always too soon to give up.
Right.
Well, sure.
Usually.
What? Failure's not an option.
Yeah, it is.
Dadgum right it is. It is always, and it's the easiest option.
Yeah.
Giving up is always an option.
And you're talking about giving up on that person, on the magnifier.
No, I think no.
No, okay.
No, for the magnifier.
Okay.
Oh, it's the worst. Forget about it.
Right.
No,
Oh, okay,
no.
gotcha. Yeah.
Oh, I can't please anybody. I'm out. I'm never going to call them again.
Right.
I quit my job. I do this. So it's almost, I would say it's almost always too soon to give up.
And this is maybe the most basic point, but we're talking about people in relationships of some sort here, not like you notice some random acquaintance at work that is a magnifier, and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna fix them right now. Let's go speak some perspective to them.
Oh, knock yourself out.
Right, it's not gonna
work.
No.
To that end, we should also point out this is mostly for you if you are a magnifier. Mm-hmm. You have a really good shot. If you're sitting here tonight at the table with us and you go, oh, kind of does sound, sound like me. You've got a good shot at getting better at this. Mm-hmm. You saying, well, this is my wife. Okay. if you go to her tomorrow and you say, hey, I listened to a great podcast last night, and you really struggle with magnifying everything, and you need to work on that. She's not going to say, oh, I take that with the love and intent with which you intended it, and I'm going to do some introspection and some healing from my childhood. So this is more for you if it's you, but also to help you understand who they are. And to that end, before we go into the effects on the relationship, we touched earlier on comfort, but are we enabling them by comforting them? So if we say, oh, wow, because what is comfort? Joining somebody in their emotions.
Right.
So this is the worst day ever. Should you say,
Right. Oh, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like come alongside them.
It seems like at least eventually you always just kind of have to go to the facts, logic, and reason side because you have. I don't know. Maybe not.
Big guy's cheering you on right now.
You're like F on your paper, Ben. That's not the right answer, but I don't know. That's what it seems like. Like you just have to go to facts, logic, and reason.
Anybody else?
I still think in the moment it's okay to comfort, but then you do have to turn. I mean, you can't just sit there.
Yeah.
You have to, at whatever feels like an appropriate distance from that moment, you've got to be like, now it really, let's talk about the perspective of that. Or
I feel like with everything else, it's the same answer where you do have to comfort them no matter how dumb it sounds, no matter how small the issue is or whatever. But then, like, I feel like in this situation, you want to get to that facts, logic, and reason much quicker than in other cases.
Even if they're not ready for it.
Because, like, if, like, let's say a loved one has a person has a loved one pass away, well, you're gonna give that person a good bit of time and a good bit of comfort, before whatever.
You would hope so.
Right.
But if
Whereas-
a person has a loved one stub their toe,
Right. Like,
When do you get the Band-Aid?
So what I would say is, you want to join the emotion, but not the inaccuracy. So they're flipping out about stubbing their dog stubbed their toe, and they're crying hysterically. You can say, "Wow, this is." I mean, sometimes it all seems like too much, doesn't it?
right.
And they go, "Yeah," and sometimes it feels like just one after another bad thing happens, doesn't it? Yeah, yeah. Well, but you don't say, "Yeah, this is the worst thing ever."
right?
Right.
Okay.
Join
That's
the emotion.
cool.
Wow, this is overwhelming, isn't it? Man, I can just tell. Like right now, man, my head's dizzy just listening to this story. Wow, that is. It's an awful lot. Man. Well, then you slip in but praise God that vets can handle stubbed toes in cats.
Yeah.
And you slip it in there. But so you join the emotion. You join the emotion. You don't join the inaccurate assessment. Would be my encouragement.
That's a cool balance. I like that.
Mary Lynn asked a question. Does this coincide with victims? Is that what that says?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it depends on, I think a victim of what? Do you mean like somebody who's always a victim, always considers themselves a victim? Oh, everybody's always taking advantage of me, everything else. Then sure, a victim would do that. But some victims don't magnify, they shut down. It depends what they're a victim of.
That sounds more like something else we talked about in one of the previous episodes. But I can't put my finger on it.
Yes. When Big Guy's very excited because facts, logic, and reason is knocking at the door with each and every one of these. The effects on the relationship. It's hard to live in an atmosphere where every little event is made to feel like a catastrophe. I mean, it's Eggshell City.
Yeah.
Eggshell City.
That's the worst. Like, that is the worst.
Because you're magnifying.
Oh yeah, no, that's not magnifying. When you have like someone that you're close with and you feel like you have to walk on eggshells around them because of this, like that's horrible.
Mm-hmm. And guess what? Your needs don't matter.
Right.
They can't see your
exactly.
needs.
Right. So yeah, exactly.
How about how incredibly tiring
Oh.
it would be to like comfort we keep saying stub toe, so I'll just go with that.
Yeah.
But like every stub toe that happens within 3 degrees of that person, like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of comforting over little things,
See, I'm going back to the greatest generation and the boomers. ahead of at least me and Gen X, and you guys who touch on, well, you're Gen X, you're
I'm a millennial.
partial millennial, and Mr. C over here. You know, we were at least raised with quit crying or give you something to cry about.
Yeah.
Like that was a regulation right there.
Words to live by.
Yeah. And so like, all right, so clearly there's something worse. All right,
Yeah.
this isn't the worst because that would be worse. It's not good comfort, by the way. When difficult events do arise, there's little ability to cope, obviously. And emotional energy is sapped by trying to exist with big events all the time. That's what we just said.
Yeah.
Why are you shaking your head now?
Yeah. No, I'm not. I'm shaking my head in just awe of that mindset. Like it just sounds impossible. It really does. Like, how do you get out of? I mean, obviously that's what we're talking about tonight, but it just sounds so difficult to break away from.
Well, and I will say, you know, I was a coach for 26 years, been very involved in the lives of my children's friends. I'm very in tune with the younger culture, and I've seen a lot of kids date and a lot of kids break up. And very often it's the one where everything is the worst and the other person is bending over backwards to make it.
Interesting.
And and even in high school world, that only lasts for a while. Like it takes the unique, whether it be guy or girl, to put up with it for, you know, sometimes it's like, that chick is crazy. And they broke up after a month. But one will acquiesce for a while. Marriages, poof, it's hard. It's hard.
Wow.
But let's get to the positive.
Let's.
How can we overcome magnifying? Well, number one, be alert for the trigger words that we talked about earlier. Always, every, no one. You know, I would, you know, if this is you, if it's your spouse, I wouldn't keep notes necessarily of documenting every time. But if you can make a mental note of, oh, I said it again. Oh, am I doing that again? Just being cognizant of it is the beginning of recovery from this.
I could see, like, and you've already pointed out that that's more for, this is like, if this is you, this, you know, this advice works. If it's not you, I could see like a magnifying personality coupled in a person with a high need for respect. I could see that going badly.
Oh, sure.
Because like
It's going to go bad no matter what. But yeah, you had the high need for respect.
yeah, and you're like,
that's
okay,
a bad combo.
let's no, well, it's not the worst thing. It's now you don't think that I
Not
you know,
even it's not the worst thing. If you go, oh, you're doing it again.
yes, right.
You're not in control of your emotions again. Oh, gosh.
You don't think I'm not? I know what I'm doing.
My first job out of college, I was a hydraulic and industrial hose salesman. I was supposed to sell those things. I never did, and it only lasted a year. But we had a magnifying owner. He had made it big in the steel industry selling hydraulic hose, and then nothing ever since then. And so he was living off his laurels. So he knew the best way to do it. We would have these staff meetings, and heads were going to roll, and this is what we're going to do. And I took notes every time, and I just kept every threat, every catastrophe, everything he was going to do. Now, I didn't share it with him, but I always had it in my back pocket. And then when I left the company, I emailed it to the entire company, every threat. And it turned out to be a mistake because people that I really loved and cared for in the company all got called into a company-wide meeting where he reviewed all of the things from the previous year. I felt bad about that.
Oh,
So it didn't work. He was still magnified.
so that email went to him as well.
Yeah, I think so.
Wow, that's a move.
That was a 21-year-old's move right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How old are you, Ben?
21.
Okay, make some moves.
Yeah, I did not put him down for a letter of reference. Did not. But I did have like a really huge other thing sale that was stolen from me. So, it all works out. Anyhow, be alert for the trigger words. Analyze what causes this sort of response, and then take your thoughts captive and replace them with more rational thinking. So, okay, wait, why do I feel this way? And I would encourage you a step further is to go back to why do I feel this way? What can I attach this to?
Yeah.
What is it that I can think of in my past that made me feel like that now this makes me feel like that? So, hey, be aware that you're doing it. Secondly, Why am I responding this way in this moment? Is it a male authority figure? Is it a life circumstance? Is it a, it all depends on what it is. But the more you can begin to get a hold of it, now you know where to go backwards and start working on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because again, we're talking about a lifetime of hurts. Now, this is one of those things where I take I want to take it a step further. So the next step is, okay, it was my mom. My mom always flipped out. Oh, it was my dad. It was my teacher. It was whatever. It was the fact that our house burned down when I was 5 and my dad lost a job when I was 10. Whatever it is, you've got all of these hurts that need to be comforted. And we've talked about that. And it's never too late to start knocking that down. We go up, it's set in stone. It's what it is.
Yeah.
Can't change it. Well, that certainly with that attitude, you can't change it.
I like the phrasing of take your thoughts captive, because it reminds me of well, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm laughing at myself here, but it reminds me.
We all do.
Yeah, right. It reminds me of like a mindfulness exercise of like separating yourself from your thoughts or feelings for like in order to be able to examine them outside of yourself. Just it's just a mental exercise, but it's like also a realization that you're not those obtrusive thoughts, or you don't have to be those obtrusive thoughts. Those are just thoughts. Sometimes like little things like that can be a powerful way to just change your mindset, I guess.
When we talked about, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, how you can you set your mindset and your brain will follow.
That's where I'm trying to go.
Yeah.
The book that Brian encouraged me to read, and I'm a couple chapters in, and I can't figure it out. Oh,
Eat
well.
the frog.
No, but it's that your brain follows your mind, not your mind follows your brain.
Right.
So if you say, today I'm going to be happy, and I'm going to think happy thoughts, and I'm going to be happy, you have a much better shot because your brain's like, wait, we're doing happy today?
Yeah.
Nate Bargatze does the joke that your brain is so stupid that one of the things they tell you is, if you want to be happy, smile a lot, and then your brain will be like, oh, we must be happy. And,
Right.
and his joke is, the brain's in there when you're planning this, but it's so stupid. It's like, oh, I guess we're happy. But that's something you can do. And literally there is a chemical structure in your brain that follows what your mind is doing. So yeah, you should take your thoughts captive. The example they give is, okay, you broke a coffee mug. Your typical reaction is, that's it. Whole day's ruined. It's over. Screw it.
Can't have a good day if you break a mug.
You can.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The consequence of that reaction, negative attitude, results in a bad day full of anger, depression, and self-blame. And I mean, again, we know these people. I mean, this day's ruined. And you're just like, it's 10 o'clock. Like, this could be the best day. But the same thing is true. And I don't know if this is helpful for the podcast, but I will share it. Disc golf, or me as a coach when I coached volleyball, when people say, oh, I just can't putt today. It's the third hole, bro.
Right.
Yeah.
And now you can't putt today.
You're not, your odds are against it. I mean, I had a very good player of mine, and she was like, I just don't have my set, or wait, was it my sets aren't working today? I said, you just personified an inanimate thing. You are in control of your sets. Did they not get off the bus? Did they sprain their... No, you can still change this. But if your mindset is magnifying and amplifying and personifying things that aren't, this is the worst day. So because you broke a coffee cup. You can fact, logic, and reason people out there are just like, yeah, they're idiots. But like, because you broke a coffee cup, the day is ruined. Now, the irony is, it probably is.
Right. For this the type of person.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you're going to look through that negative lens all day long and look for the negative and create the negative. You walk into, there's a TV show, by the way. I've never really mentioned it before.
I've never heard of this.
It's called Cougar Town.
Oh, really?
Low key, one of the most underrated television shows of all time. And in one of them, somebody did something nice for somebody first thing in the morning, and then they're walking to work and they waved to the other guy and he was happy, and then he bought somebody a cup of coffee and everything was great. And then later on in the episode, somebody was mad and slammed the door in somebody's face, who then screamed and yelled. And it was just the exact reverse. But that's reality. That's exactly how it is. Instead, if you take control and take captive these thoughts, you would instead reply, well, you know what? These things happen. It's just a mug. Can be easily replaced. Let's clean it up. That'd be nice. So I wanted to end this week with 3 different scripture verses that if you struggle with magnifying, actually you don't struggle at all. You're great at it. You are the best at magnifying. 3 scripture verses. Ephesians 4:2. With all humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another in love. It is loving to not assume that the verse ends with all humility and gentleness and patience, bearing with one another in love. Humility, patience. Humility, to think that the world is revolving around you to screw you is kind of arrogant. With all due respect, the universe isn't even thinking about you. You just experienced one bad thing.
Right.
So let's be a little more humble about this, and let's be a little more patient about this.
That reminds me of personalization too. Like, it's really not all about you.
Well,
and that's a good thing.
And this also is in reference to when you're magnifying everybody's reactions towards you or actions towards you. Oh, they're out to get me. They've always wanted to hurt me. You're thinking pretty negatively about somebody. And so that's not very humble or kind or patient.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't mean to ruin your day.
Right.
They just ruined your day. Ecclesiastes 7:9. Do not be quickly provoked in your spirit, for anger resides in the lap of fools.
Oh, I like that. That's blunt.
But it's
Facts, logic, and reason.
a great facts, logic, and reason, but it's from the Bible, so it's okay.
Yeah.
But again, and then let's point it out a 12th time. If you are struggling or are an expert in magnifying, it is good for you to write these down,
Yeah.
post it on your mirror, so that when you're magnifying at work, you'll be like, oh, wait. Am I being a fool? Am I being quick to anger or quick to magnify for...
Yeah, that is not a
You don't
verse
give that to somebody
say
else.
to somebody, but in a moment where you are not magnifying, in a moment where you are calm and you know, like now listening to a podcast, hopefully, and yeah, you hear those words, anger resides in the lap of fools. Like, that's just, like, I think all of us can be like, yeah, yeah, it's not the wise.
It's not the wise old
choice.
sage, is it?
No.
But that's also, and we don't, we're Christians who are doing a podcast. We're not a Christian podcast per se. But I think that's one of the beauties and important things of memorizing, or at least making yourself more aware of Scripture. Because, we're like, oh, God, I really want you to talk to me today and everything else. Then you go through your day and you're like, oh, I didn't really hear from God. Well, if you post this up, I guarantee you the first time, or one of the times you get angry, you're going to be like, oh,
Right.
oh, all right, Lord. Oh, you're telling me not to be angry. Oh,
And for
cool.
non-believers that listen, I mean, that's just great life advice.
Yeah.
Matthew 11:28-30. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. The yoke is what you're carrying with you, what is guiding and directing. And the yoke you're putting on yourself is gargantuan.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's saying, no, take mine. Learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. So keeping those verses in mind, my encouragement to you is twofold. Go back to, when do I magnify? Can I attach it to something from my childhood? A pattern, a person, whatever. Then begin to talk with a trusted loved one about those times and have them join you. How do they join you? Well, then they should listen to this podcast and learn how to do proper comfort. But if nothing else, in your quiet time before God, say, hey, when my dad would always flip out on me, when my mom would always flip out on me, when my teacher, whatever it was, whatever you connected it to in your childhood, a very simple and dynamic and interactive prayer you can have with God. You can say, Jesus, how did you feel for me when that happened? And then just be quiet. Jesus, how did you feel when mom flipped out or when dad flipped out or whenever this happened? What did you want to say to me back then? And what do you want to say to me right now? And then just shut your mouth and shut your brain down and listen for that sweet, gentle voice of God to say whatever he will say. Mm-hmm. If he's saying you're an embarrassment and I wish I never had you, you got to get a little bit more time in the word because he's not saying that.
Right.
He will say things to your heart like, you're my daughter, you're my son, and I love you very much. And my heart was broken when that happened. And I am so proud of you. And things like that. I don't know exactly what he'll say, but he will say something if you allow him to do that. And then another step further is, God, did anything like this ever happen to you? It's a great way. And no matter what you're going through in life, by the way, those are two things you can always say is, Jesus, how did you feel for me when this happened? And when did you go through this? Because think about the number of times Jesus said, look, on the third day, I will destroy this temple. And everybody's like, he's going to overthrow Rome. They magnified all over him. Mm-hmm. And he was like, no, that's not what I'm going to do. So no matter what you're going through, God can identify. You can identify with what Jesus went through because he's gone through everything we could possibly go through. Mm-hmm. And begin the journey. And you're not going to be better right away. Mm-hmm. You just might magnify less. Maybe a small m magnify, not a large m magnify.
That's good too.
So that would be my encouragement to all of you. Ben, tell us what you are most excited about for the next 18 months, because we haven't heard enough from Ben today, and I'd like to wrap it up by just hearing a little bit more about Ben. Next 18 months, you're going to graduate from graduate school in how long?
In the spring. So
So you're 11 months away from graduating from graduate school.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah, it's the Express program. So
That's what they call it.
So yep. What'll my life?
Can you see 18 months from now?
No. What will my life look like after that?
Like one calendar year.
Yeah,
You'll be applying
right.
for jobs.
Right. Yep. It'll be applying for jobs. I'll be in the workforce. Like in a calendar year, I will be legitimately working, done with school. Well, I'll be in a school, but not.
Maybe gap year. Go travel.
Oh yeah, with all my money.
From math.
You don't have to pay the student loans back right away.
No. And it's not good to be safe. So yeah. So
It's not good to be safe.
But I'm
means.
sure, just trust God, trust.
Man, these are the best
future.
Ben-isms.
It's not good to be safe. Trust God, trust. That's going on one of the shirts Chris is going to put together for us.
Absolutely. It's coming.
Trust in God, trust.
But yeah, thank you for asking.
We care deeply about you. You are precious and a treasure and one of the favorite sons of the table.
And on that note, we're going to wrap up episode 244. Join us next Wednesday live at 8:30-ish for episode 245. Between now and then, please give us a like or follow on social media. Visit us at lunchtimeinrome.com. And while there, take our relational needs questionnaire. Thanks for joining us at the table for Lunchtime in Rome.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.